The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Zethkar's words echoed through the crystalline dome. His four eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he delivered what he believed to be the final verdict on the upstart species from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. "The humans have rejected our ultimatum," Zethkar announced, his chitinous exoskeleton clicking as he gestured toward the holographic display showing Earth. "They refuse to surrender their military vessels and submit to hegemony rule. Therefore, by the ancient laws of conquest, we officially declare war upon the species known as humanity." A ripple of approval passed through the assembled delegates. The Vorthak hegemony had never been denied before. Across the galaxy, dozens of species had bowed to their superior technology and overwhelming numbers. Why should these soft pink bipeds be any different? Council leader Mexthul raised one of his 6 arms, bringing order to the chamber. "Very well. Dispatch the Third Fleet to their system. Make it swift." But from the back of the chamber a voice spoke up, barely above a whisper, yet it somehow carried to every corner of the vast space. "Congratulations," came the dry observation, from Ambassador Krethek of the Zenhari Union. "You just declared war on the most deadly species alive." Every head in the chamber turned toward the elderly Zenhari. His species was among the oldest in the galaxy, having achieved spaceflight when most others were still discovering fire. They rarely spoke in council sessions, preferring to observe with their ancient, knowing eyes. Zethkar's mandibles clicked in annoyance. "Elder Krithek, surely you jest. These humans have barely achieved faster-than-light travel. Their weapons are primitive chemical rockets. Their largest warships wouldn't even qualify as escort vessels in our fleets." Krithek's weathered face remained impassive. "Tell me, Ambassador, what do you know of human history?" "Enough," Zethkar replied dismissively. A brief silence passed. "They've warred among themselves for millennia, showing their primitive nature. Once we demonstrate our superiority, they'll fall in line like all the others." "Warred among themselves," Krethek repeated slowly. "For millennia." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Do you know what that means?" The chamber grew uncomfortably quiet. Several delegates shifted in their seats. "It means," Krethek continued, "that for thousands of years the most dangerous opponent a human ever faced was another human. They've been refining the art of warfare against the most cunning, adaptable, and ruthless enemy imaginable. Themselves." Mexthul leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, Elder?" Krethek accessed his personal database, projecting historical images above the chamber. While most species achieved peace through unity or conquest, humans achieved it through exhaustion. They became so proficient at warfare that they nearly destroyed themselves multiple times. Every innovation, every strategy, every desperate tactic, tested against opponents who knew them intimately. The images showed human conflicts throughout history. Medieval battles, naval warfare, mechanized combat, aerial dogfights, and finally the terrifying specter of nuclear weapons. "They turned warfare into a science," Krethek said. "Not just the technology, but the psychology. They understand that war isn't just about superior firepower. It's about will, adaptability, and the refusal to surrender when any rational being would give up." Zethkar's confidence wavered slightly. "But our technology can be adapted, copied, improved upon," Krethek interrupted. "The Vorthak have superior weapons because you've never faced a peer competitor. You conquered primitive species with overwhelming force. But humans? Every advantage they've ever had, they've faced enemies who matched or exceeded it." The Elder Zenhari highlighted a particular image. Human soldiers in what their archives called World War II. Watch how they adapted to each other's innovations. Chemical weapons led to better protective equipment and delivery systems. Aviation led to anti-aircraft defenses and better fighters. Codes were created and broken in an endless cycle of intellectual warfare. When they couldn't match technology, they used cunning. When they couldn't match numbers, they used terrain and weather. When they had nothing left, they used pure stubbornness. A uncomfortable silence settled over the chamber. "And now," Krethek said quietly, "you've given them a unifying enemy. For the first time in their species' history, every human government, every human soldier, every human scientist will be working toward the same goal, not conquest, survival. And there is nothing more dangerous than a human fighting for survival." Mexthul's voice was uncertain. "Surely their primitive weapons will improve rapidly," Krethek finished. "Humans don't just adapt, they innovate under pressure. Their greatest technological leaps came during wartime. They went from basic flight to nuclear weapons in 40 years, most of it during 2 global conflicts. The chamber erupted in alarmed chatter. Several delegates were frantically accessing their own databases, confirming Krithek's claims. "There's something else," the Zenhari elder added, his voice cutting through the noise. "Humans have a concept they call total war. Not just military against military, but the complete mobilization of an entire civilization. Every factory, every scientist, every citizen becomes part of the war effort. They've done this before against each other. Imagine what they'll accomplish when they do it together." Zethkar was no longer clicking confidently. His exoskeleton had paled to a sickly gray. What do you recommend?" Krithek smiled, a terrifying expression on his ancient features. "Pray to whatever gods you worship that they're feeling merciful when they come for you. Because they will come, and when they do, you'll discover why the galaxy's oldest species have spent 10,000 years making very sure we never gave humanity a reason to consider us an enemy." As if summoned by his words, an aide rushed into the chamber with an urgent communication tablet. Mexthul read it, his expression growing increasingly alarmed. "What is it?" demanded Zethkar. Mexthul looked up, his face grim. "Our intelligence reports that humanity has just begun what they're calling the Unity Protocol. Every human government has dissolved their military commands into a single unified force. They're calling it the Terra Defense Corps." Krithek nodded slowly. "And so it begins. Congratulations, Vorthak. You've just given the galaxy's most warlike species their first common enemy in centuries." He stood to leave, pausing at the chamber's exit. "I suggest you prepare your last will and testament. The humans are coming, and they've had thousands of years to practice." The chamber fell silent as his footsteps echoed away, leaving behind a room full of beings who were just beginning to realize the magnitude of their mistake.